Hello, I'm Amanda Morrall from interest.co.nz and welcome to our monthly report on real estate listings on realestate.co.nz. I'm joined by Alistair Helm. He's the CEO of the realestate.co.nz website, which produces a monthly report on what's happening in the real estate sector, including listings on average prices for those listed as well as the inventory. Now, it's a good thing Bernard's not here because you've disputed his contention that we are entering a housing bubble. Your report this month would suggest otherwise. So let's start with prices. What are you reading into the prices there?
Well, the prices are sitting at a high level, but they haven't gone up again, so we're not seeing a new peak. Having said that, Auckland is at a new peak, so you have to look at the New Zealand market always in consideration to the impact Auckland has. But nationally, it's off a little. It's seasonally adjusted, it's off a little. So it kind of feels like there's a little bit of the heat has come out of it a little bit. But I keep on coming back to it that Auckland is sitting at another high, and that seems to be where the heart of the property market is happening.
Yeah.
But so it might be a mini bubble in Auckland, but it's not a national one.
Okay, and that comes down to supply. Well, we'll get there in a moment. So what's happening with new listings? They've come down by about 10% on a seasonally adjusted basis. Is that correct? So what's happening there?
Well, the view was, as we went into the start of this year, we were seeing sales pick up. There was a sense that there would be a hesitation, but then listings would start to really flow. And we had a good supply in March, but April has come back quite a lot. It's only just over 10,000 listings, which seems a lot when you say there were 7,000 sales in March. But, you know, proportion-wise, there's got to be a lot of rotation of stock. And 10,000 was 10% below seasonal adjusted last month and down on last year as well. And when you consider the sales are up 20% on last year, it's kind of this odd situation. We just don't seem to be getting the confidence of sellers to put their property on the market, or there's a hesitation, or they just don't feel it's the right time. So it's not coming as would be expected, and that's why inventory hasn't dropped, and we'll come to that, but it's not moving much.
Okay.
So it's still low, still a seller's market would be the deduction on the property market.
Okay, but that's not the case in all regions. It's a buyer's market in some areas.
Indeed.
So let's have a look at where those spots would be. Well, let's start off. We'll go to our usual suspects in Auckland there. We can see that now the red line is, or the blue line on top is the national.
It's a national, yep.
Yeah, so
Compared
we're really trending below that correctly.
Well, Auckland stayed the same, 21.7 weeks, and it's well down on the long-term average, which is about 32 weeks. So Auckland is definitely a seller's market, and I don't think you'd find anyone in the property market in Auckland who wouldn't agree with you. That's the overriding view in Auckland. Yep.
Okay, and how about Canterbury? I mean, they've had
still the same situation. Yeah, I mean, inventory hasn't moved much, but it's still way down on long-term average. Still a kind of condensed market, constrained market by the post-earthquake factors, but shortage of supply, and again, asking prices well up there again. So strong issues in the Canterbury region.
Okay, now let's move along to, if I can find it here. I was going to go to Wellington. So we'll slide along here, if we can find it.
The Wellington market's an interesting one because it's definitely a lot quieter. And in fact, their inventory has picked up from the previous months. So it's a little bit of a blip up there.
Okay.
Sales have been a bit quieter. I think the whole, public sector issues in the Wellington region may be affecting it a bit. So inventory's picked up. Listings were not that strong, but it's underlying sales that are driving the inventory a little bit higher. It's actually sitting pretty much at long-term average, so it's kind of a balanced market in the Wellington region.
Okay, so which region now would be showing a sort of the opposite effect, where we've got an increase in inventory?
Well, the usual suspect seems to be along that east coast, so the Gisborne, a bit of the Hawke's Bay, and then over into the Central North Island. Those kind of ones are still seeing a market which is preferencing buyers. Wairarapas is still a market which has a high inventory. It's still preferencing buyers. Okay. The other sort of extremes, if you pick the regions, is the Queenstown Otago Lakes. Very much a seller's market, very strong, good uptake in sales, good listings, but inventory coming down. And the West Coast, very, very strong activity. The West Coast, it's been 6 or 9 months of consistently picking up more activity, asking prices going up and up and up. So West Coast, albeit a very small market, has seen some significant property market activity in the last year.
Is part of that the dispersion with people leaving Christchurch, or what are you attributing that to?
I think both those factors, and I've heard anecdotally that the Christchurch exodus to the Queenstown Lakes area, to the West Coast, would probably live behind that quite a bit. So I think those factors are influencing, as they've influenced a part of the Auckland market as well. Okay. But they're not without activity in Canterbury region as well. It's quite active.
So you've called it a bit of a rebalancing mode out there in the market right now. So what are you anticipating with interest rates potentially staying the same, or if not going lower? Can we expect to see more of a pickup then, perhaps?
Well, it's that curious time of the property market year moving into the May, June, July, which are the quieter months for listings. They're not as proportionally quieter for sales, and this is a disparity in the property market. Everyone thinks that property goes quiet during the winter. Levels of sales don't change much, but listings go down anyway. So we're almost going to likely see the next couple of months maybe the situation get worse again, where because we're not naturally seeing inventory come onto the market, if sales continue at 20% on year, we're going to see those inventory levels come down, and that's going to put more property price pressure potentially on the asking price. So we may have a very interesting winter this year, particularly if the weather stays nice as we've had in the autumn. We might have a more rampant active market.
And I'm curious to know, you've posted now a Chinese version of your website out there for foreign buyers. How's that going over? Are you seeing quite a bit of interest?
It's certainly doing well. It's a small sector, there's no doubt about it. Our primary website attracts 400,000 visitors a month, and that's really the heart of the business. China is a growing sector, but it is small. Australia is much more important as buyers. UK, US are in the top 5. China's still outside the top 5. So great for us to do that. Really good response from the industry. Sellers like that ability, but it's not going to massively change the buying dynamics, I think, despite what the public and some of the media has said about, this is going to cause massive interest from China. I think the interest is there regardless. We're just trying to help make it easier.
Excellent. Okay. Alistair Helm, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm Amanda Morrall with interest.co.nz.